Alright, hey guys, it's Jack from Peach Guitars here, and on today's episode of Board Talk, I'm going to walk you through the importance of getting the right order for the pedals on your pedal board. But before I do so, I just want to remind you to like this video if you enjoy it, comment down below with your thoughts, and to make sure that you're subscribed to the Peach Guitars YouTube channel. So today what I wanted to do was break down a couple of the myths that we hear a lot when it comes to the ordering of the pedals on your board. So what I wanted to do today was break this down in the most simplistic way that I could by using three types of effect. So we've got germanium fuzz, I've got an overdrive pedal, and I've got a delay pedal. Now of course there's also other elements to factor in if you're using modulation pedals, reverb pedals, anything else like that, but today I'm just focusing on these three basics. You're going to hear for yourself the drastic impact between each variation on how it affects the tone and response of each of the pedals. Also, to break this down in as simplistic way as I can, I'm going to refer to these different setups in a numbering system. So for example, I'm going to treat the fuzz pedal as number 1, the overdrive pedal as number 2, and the delay as number 3. So what you've heard in the intro and the first clip you're going to hear as well is this order that I've got here, which is by far the most common way to do things. If you're following all the rules, then this is the way that will give you the most desirable results. I feel, and I'm sure a lot of other guitar players will feel, to have the germanium fuzz first in the chain so that it's got a direct connection to the output of your guitar, then followed up by the overdrive pedal, and then lastly you've got the delay, so that the delay is not getting overdriven on its output. So it's like the cleanest delay tone that you can have. The overdrive pedal is sitting where it wants to be, and the fuzz, first in the chain, is also seeing exactly what it wants to see from your guitar's input. So the second ordering is going to be numbers 2, 1, 3. So basically I've switched around the germanium fuzz and the overdrive. And what you're going to hear here is because this overdrive pedal has a buffer in its output stage, even when it's not switched on, it's affecting the input of the fuzz. So that creates an effect that's either desirable to you or it isn't. What you find, particularly with a germanium fuzz, is that if you have a buffer placed in front of it, it really affects that really infamous ability to be able to turn down your guitar's volume control and have the fuzz clean up. What you'll hear in the clip is that when I do affect the guitar's volume control, it doesn't really clean up at all, and that's due to the buffer of this overdrive pedal. Also, you find that the tone of the overdrive pedal when it's switched on going into the fuzz really doesn't shape the fuzz tone that much either. It's basically just overloading the fuzz signal even more. So this way around is a little bit more chaotic, but you might find that if that's the kind of tone you want to go for, this is the way that you should set your pedals up. Okay, so with order number 2, 3, 1, what I've got here is the first thing in the chain is still the overdrive pedal, but I've switched around the fuzz and the delay. And what you're going to find here is now that the delay is placed in between two different overdriving units, it's basically hitting the front end of the fuzz, which is very distorted, which means that the delay becomes distorted itself. So what you're going to hear is the delay effect becomes much more pronounced. It's no longer the subtle kind of calm in the background sound that you would like to normally have from your delay. If you want a really chaotic analog delay sound, then place the delay in front of the fuzz for that effect. You'll also notice that when I use the fuzz tone, the buffer from the overdrive pedal is still absolutely wreaking havoc with the input stage of the fuzz. So again, it's just something that's subjective, and you either like that response or you don't. Okay, so order number 132 is very similar to the first order that I showed you. I've simply switched around the overdrive and the delay. And what you're going to find with this is that you've got something to overdrive the output stage of the delay. So when the overdrive and the delay are on together, as I said before, the delay is getting overdriven, it's getting compressed, so it's a little bit more chaotic in its nature. But you've still got the germanium fuzz first in the chain, so that is largely unaffected. So it's still kind of got that analog linear kind of motion through the signal chain if that's what you want to be able to work with your guitar volume control still. You've just mixed things up a little bit by introducing a delay before the overdrive stage in the chain. Okay, so order number 321 is by far the weirdest and most chaotic out there, but I'm sure to some players this would be the perfect sound that you've been looking for your entire playing life. So basically I've completely reversed the order from the start, which means that the delay is the first thing in the chain. So it's getting very heavily overdriven, not just by the overdrive pedal after it, but also the fuzz right at the end. And also, because I've got the germanium fuzz after the buffer of the overdrive pedal and the buffer of the delay when it's switched on, it really has a drastic effect on the way that the fuzz interacts with your guitar volume control. So it becomes very overdriven, very fuzzy indeed. You don't really have that dynamic nature with the guitar volume control anymore. You're really just piling everything into the front end of the fuzz, and it makes for a very crazy, chaotic kind of response. Okay, so last of all I've got order 312, and I've just switched around from the last clip that you'll have heard the overdrive and the fuzz, so it doesn't really have too much of a change to the tone. You'll still hear that, as I said before, the buffering from when the delay is switched on really affects the fuzz tone, and that's what I really wanted to stress in this clip, is that when I'm using the fuzz by itself with a true bypass pedal in front of it, you still get that dynamic response, but as soon as you turn a pedal on, it's buffering the input and it makes the fuzz react very differently. The overdrive being right on the end doesn't really have too much of an impact on the tone, but it's very important to note the differences between having fuzz going into overdrive as opposed to overdrive going into fuzz. It just depends, once again, on the kind of response and the tone that you like. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this little kind of experiment, if you will. It's something that we get asked about quite a lot. There is really no right way to do it. I'm sure several different tones that I've been able to coax out of the different orderings of these pedals will appeal to you in different ways. It is very subjective It's different for every player. Hopefully this video served as a little guide to placing your pedals in the order that's best for you. So that's it. Thanks very much for watching, guys. If you want any more information, you can check all that information out at peachguitars.com. So thanks very much for watching Board Talk. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.